What if I told you that the most powerful scream you've ever made was never heard by anyone? What if I told you that science has finally caught up with something written over 1,400 years ago? And what if I told you that a single verse in the Quran, a verse revealed in a time with no science, no satellites, no space missions, describes what modern astronauts fear the most? Silence. The kind of silence where even your loudest scream vanishes into nothing. Now listen closely, because this isn't just a story about science. This is about you, about your pain, about the moments you begged for help and no one answered. It's about the suffocating loneliness you felt in your darkest hour and the stunning truth that someone heard you before you ever made a sound. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will change how you see the universe, how you understand silence, and how you realize you were never alone. Don't blink, don't pause, because from this moment until the last word, you're going to discover something that could shake the very ground you walk on. This is where science meets revelation. This is what they never told you. They told me, don't bother screaming, no one listens here. And maybe they were right. Not because people don't care, but because out there in the vast darkness between stars, between galaxies, between the heartache and the hope, between the silence of men and the whisper of the Creator, there really is no sound. You could scream from the bottom of your soul, stretch your lungs until they tear, yell for help until your vocal cords rip apart, and yet if you're in the wrong place, it won't make a difference. No one will hear, because out there in the vacuum of space, sound dies before it's even born. Now, I'm not talking poetry. I'm talking physics. I'm talking cold, hard science. And I'm talking about something that was written over 1,400 years ago in the Quran. Words that now echo with terrifying precision through the corridors of modern astrophysics. The moment you step outside Earth's atmosphere, the rules change. The air that carries your voice disappears. No medium, no sound. Scientists discovered this through technology. Satellites, space stations, shuttles, trial and error. They learned that in space, there's nothing to carry sound waves. You see, sound travels by vibrating molecules in air or water or solid matter. But space is a vacuum. There's no air, no molecules to vibrate, and so silence becomes law, the deepest, most haunting silence known to man. That's why they say, in space, no one can hear you scream. But what if I told you that this cosmic law, this terrifying reality of space travel, was already hinted at in a book written in the deserts of Arabia before telescopes, before rockets, before men even dared to dream of touching the sky? Now let's go to Surah Al-An'am, verse 125. So whoever Allah wants to guide, He expands His breast to Islam. And whoever He wants to misguide, He makes His breast tight and constricted, as though He were climbing into the sky. At first glance, this verse might look spiritual, metaphorical, emotional, but take a deeper look. Think like a scientist, as though he were climbing into the sky, a comparison drawn over a millennium ago. And how does that feel? Tight and constricted. The Quran is describing a suffocating pressure on the chest when ascending higher and higher into the sky. Today, we know exactly what that is. It's called hypoxia. Oxygen deprivation caused by high altitudes. The higher you climb into the sky, the less oxygen there is, and the more pressure it puts on your lungs, your brain, your body. You can't breathe. You can't function. You start to panic. Your heart races. You can't scream. And even if you did, nobody would hear you, because in the upper reaches of the atmosphere, especially in outer space, your voice is trapped inside your own head. There is no air to carry your sound. There is no one to hear you. Now, imagine a man in the 7th century walking the earth with no access to any modern instruments, no barometers, no altitude chambers, no spacesuits, just the open desert and a sky full of stars. How does he know that climbing into the sky causes tightness in the chest How does he know that the experience would match what astronauts now describe when they leave Earth's atmosphere? American astronaut Ron Garan once said, "The moment you leave Earth and the sound fades away, it feels like someone has hit mute on the universe." The silence is overwhelming, crushing, but somehow a book written 14 centuries ago managed to paint the emotional, spiritual, and physiological picture of that very moment. He makes his breast tight and constricted as though he were climbing into the sky. Not only does this match the lack of oxygen, but it also matches the psychological weight of being alone in a place where your voice has no reach. Here's where science steps in. Sound requires a medium, solid, liquid, or gas. It needs molecules to travel. Your vocal cords produce vibrations. Those vibrations push against air molecules, and those molecules carry that disturbance to someone else's ears. That's how we hear. But in space, in a vacuum, there are no molecules, nothing to push against. So sound dies, the scream gets stuck inside you. And yet the Quran, centuries before the laws of thermodynamics or the equations of acoustics, paints a metaphor so accurate that scientists reading it today are stunned. They don't know how to explain it, they can't refute it, and many of them silently begin to question what they once thought was just ancient scripture. Now, let's zoom in on the astronaut experience when someone exits the pressurized cabin of a space shuttle and enters the vacuum of space. Assuming they're in a suit, there's complete silence. You can't hear your breath. You can't hear your heart. You can't hear the footsteps of your fellow astronaut. There is only the hum inside your helmet, and even that is artificial. The natural state of space is silence. That silence, that's what the Quran spoke about. The suffocating, silent void of climbing into the sky. What's powerful here is that the Quran didn't just state it as a scientific fact, it painted it as a spiritual metaphor for being lost, misguided, disconnected from divine truth, tight and constricted. That's not just biology, that's the feeling of a man losing touch with his purpose. And that mirrors the modern human experience. Today, people feel more isolated than ever. They're connected to millions online, but feel suffocated in their soul. Their screams go unheard. They feel like they're climbing into the sky with no one listening, like sound has vanished, like hope has been silenced. And that's the beauty of this verse. It's timeless. It connects cosmic physics with human emotion. It bridges the laws of the universe with the cries of the heart. That's not the language of a poet. That's the language of someone who knows what lies beyond the clouds. Someone who understands the rules that govern both flesh and spirit, matter and meaning. The deeper you go into the sky, the more pressure you feel, the less air you have, and the more it resembles the spiritual state of being lost. A constricted heart, a silenced voice, a soul reaching for help and finding nothing but silence. Now picture the first humans who ever left Earth. Yuri Gagarin, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin. What they described was not just the wonder of seeing Earth from above. They described the eerie, almost haunting quiet that surrounded them. Imagine floating above your entire planet, watching its beauty, its colors, its clouds, and hearing nothing, not a whisper, not a song, not a shout. They said it made them reflect. It made them feel small. It made them feel something ancient, something greater than them. That's the feeling the Quran described. And it did it centuries before anyone ever went to space. It linked the silence of space to the agony of separation from truth. Because when you have no faith, no anchor, no belief, your soul is climbing into the sky, lost, tight, constricted, screaming into a vacuum. So let me tell you something. Science didn't disprove the Quran. Science confirmed it. When modern astrophysicists tell you that screaming in space is useless, they're echoing a truth that was laid out before humanity even knew what vacuum meant. When astronauts say the silence is so complete, it's terrifying, they're giving you a first-hand testimony of something revealed 1,400 years ago. And when people today feel like no one hears their pain, no one sees their struggle, no one listens to their cries, that's not new. That's been known. That's been described. That's been addressed. And here's the real shock. That verse, It didn't come from a scientist. It didn't come from a scholar of physics. It came from the mouth of a man who couldn't read or write. A man who lived among shepherds and traders, a man with no telescope, no observatory, no launch pad, and yet he described the very sensation of traveling skyward, the very science of sound, silence, and pressure, the very truth that makes seasoned astronauts break down in tears when they return to Earth. How is that possible? How did he know? You see, there are things in this universe that textbooks can't explain. There are truths so deep, they bypass the mind and go straight to the soul. And if you're brave enough to look beyond the noise, beyond the politics, beyond the labels, you'll see it. You'll hear it. You'll feel it. Not with your ears, not with your instruments, but with that quiet space inside your chest where truth echoes, where purpose whispers, where the silence begins to speak. And maybe that's the real reason no one listens when you scream. Maybe it's not that people don't care. Maybe it's that your voice was never meant for them. Maybe your scream was a message, and the only one meant to hear it already did. Long before you said a word, long before you opened your mouth, long before you even realized you were screaming at all. So when they told me, don't bother screaming, no one listens here, maybe they weren't entirely wrong, but they weren't completely right either. Because while space may be silent, while your voice might vanish into a vacuum, and while this world might ignore the sound of your pain, there is one who hears what no human ear can hear, one who answers even the scream you never spoke. The Quran, over 1,400 years ago, reached into the very fabric of the cosmos and described what science would only just begin to uncover. It didn't need telescopes or satellites, it needed truth. And now as science catches up, one truth becomes undeniable. This book didn't come from a man staring up the stars. It came from the Creator who placed them there. The silence of space isn't a void, it's a sign. A sign that what was once mocked as myth now stands as proof. And if a book written in the sands of time can describe the silence beyond the skies, what else in its pages have we yet to understand? Thank you for walking through this truth with open eyes and an open heart. May your journey for knowledge never stop at what the world says is impossible. May your soul continue to seek the signs, the signals, the secrets that were always there, waiting to be heard, even in the silence. Keep rising, keep asking, and may you always find the answers written in the stars and between the lines. Good luck on your path. Keep going. The truth is closer than you think.